non-verbally see the discussion presented of the importance of trusting God, but do you really trust God? It's one thing to say that you do, but when it comes
Mhm.
down to it, are you really trusting Him? And I think that that's something that we deal with every day, and it's
Right.
always refining. But for you, has there been a moment or a series of things that stood out to you where you're like, man, I needed to trust God with this, and
Wow.
this is what happened?
Yeah, that's great because I'm still in the process of finishing up a book that I'm writing
Hmm.
called Funny How Life Works. We just today we're going over this chapter that I wrote where there was a point where I lived in New York City, which is where I got saved. Then I was moving to Los Angeles, but I had very little money. I was living in my car, and I had a choice where I could go west and head to Los Angeles, or I could go back eastward from Chicago and head back to Michigan, which is where I'm from, which would have been comfortable. And I was broke, like I didn't have any money. It was my last show, and based off how much money I made was going to help determine that. But I already determined in my heart I'm gonna go west regardless. And only had like $72 to my name, which is not enough gas money to get all the way to California. But I also had 13 T-shirts. So I figured if I was able to sell these T-shirts, which were $10 each, if I was able to sell these T-shirts, it could probably get me halfway to Los Angeles, and then I could stop and do a few jobs at like a day labor place, or whatever, and then get to my cousin's couch in Los Angeles. But I knew I was determined to move forward, and I was like, and I just became a Christian. I'm like, God, I'm just gonna trust you. This got to work out. So I'm on stage, and I present my I'm getting ready to do my last joke. I'm at Zany's Comedy Club. It's 27 people in the audience. Like it's a miserable show. And I normally sell about 2 T-shirts. If it's 100 people there, I'll sell 2 T-shirts. Well, there's 27 people there. So I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. It doesn't make sense. And in the middle of my T-shirt pitch, I can't stand pitching T-shirts. I get heckled. Some dude is like, how much is those crappy shirts or whatever? I'm like, huh. So I jokingly said to him, just to get a laugh and detach it, I said, they're $50. What about it? Where people laugh or whatever. And then I finished up my last joke, my big closer at the time, which was a joke about me jogging. I finished that up. I set up my T-shirts, and everybody's walking by me, and it's all miserable and weird, and people are not making eye contact. And I'm like, how am I going to get to California? What am I going to do? I'm living out people ask me where I lived. I lived at 1997 Lumina Drive because I drove a 1997 Lumina. That's literally where I live. And then I'm standing there with my shirts, and this lady walks up and she says, hey, I like a shirt. Do you have a medium? And I was like, yeah, I got a medium. And then she handed me a bill, and now I got to get changed. I got to find a waitress to get changed. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, what do I do? And I turn back around, and the lady's gone. And I look at the bill, and it's a $50 bill. And now I'm like, well, I need to find this lady. She gave me too much money. And a guy walks up and says, hey, I want 2 shirts. He grabs 2 large shirts and hands me $100 and leaves. I sold 13 shirts for $50.
I
I
love
was
it.
blown back. That was clearly God saying, if you trust me, I got you. Just trust me. And with that money, I was able to get all the way to California. Then on the Tonight Show, comedies, like God has just shown up in a significant way. And now we're doing a movie, Selfie Dad. Like just some amazing stuff happened. And as a result of that trust, I didn't have a lot of trust, probably as much as a half of a mustard seed. But I just said, okay, I'm gonna use this little faith to get to the next place. And I think Selfie Dad, this movie, will help people see like the importance of having that faith. And the way to get it is by putting the word in your heart and then watching what happens in your walk.